Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge etc. From Mailroom to Corner Office, A Banker's Journey by Dr. R. Srinivasan. Cover page of the book. Today that is 22nd April 2025. I am sharing episode 2. YouTube link of episode 1. Childhood and school days. Rangasamy Iyengar, who was a government official with the designation of Inspector of Excise, and his wife had 3 children. First was a daughter, Kodai, my paternal aunt. Second a son, Raghavachari, my father. Third a son, Rajagopalan, my paternal uncle. They lived in their ancestral home in Vembanoor, a teeny village in Tanjavur district, Tamil Nadu, India. This village is on the way as one travels by road from Kumbakonam to Thiruvarur, equidistance between these two important places. My parents were Raghavachari and Sundaram. They were married at an early age. It can even be called a marriage between children, and in a present day context, it would be legal. My father studied up to school final, about 15 years of age. His schooling was at different places as his father was on a transferable job. I only remember my father telling me that he studied in a place called Mannargudi. My mother probably did not go beyond the level of third grade in elementary school. My mother later became very worldly, wise to the extent that she was a friend, philosopher, and guide to those who came in contact with her. Thanks to their early marriage and having enough leisure time in their village, both of them seems to have enjoyed giving birth to their children. In all, they had about 17, but many of them died as infants. Only 4 of us survived. My elder sister called Chellam, myself, my younger sister Kallani, and a younger brother Ranga Ramanujan. He was so named because my paternal grandfather was called Rangasamy and my maternal grandfather Ramanujam. I was the eighth child of my parents, and being a male, I was called Kannan. Lord Krishna, a Vaishnavite god worshipped by Hindus, was also the eighth child and who was called Kannan, a pet name which seems to have been the inspiration behind my name. Later, for official purposes, I was given the name of Srinivasan. The second is the name of the most famous Vaishnavite god whose temple in Tirupati is considered to be the richest temple in the world. It is customary for women to go to their parents' house for their confinement. My mother did not have a place to call her parents' house when I was due, and so I was born in one of my mother's elder brother's house. My uncle, I had 6 of them, was called Raghunathan, and he was an inspector in the PWD department of the municipality and was at the time living in a place called Kodimangalam. The second is a slightly bigger village on the road from Kumbakonam to Karaikal. I was born on March 30, 1932 in a village called Kodimangalam in Tanjavur district, which became my place of birth. I do not have the faintest idea of the real place as my mother never seems to have visited there again after my birth. The earliest memory I have of my childhood is life in Vembanoor village. I can vividly recollect being initiated into study. Every child is expected to have this initiation done by a learned person called a Pandit after the child turns 5 years old. This is known as Aksara Bhasam. Aksar meaning letter of the alphabet and Abhasam meaning exercise. Essentially, the Pandit initiates the child into learning the three arts. There was a school teacher called Pudupudi Krishnamurthy who became my guru and played the part of initiating me into the pursuit of literacy. Normally, an auspicious moment is chosen for this, and my guru told me much later that on the same day he had initiated his son as well as me. Expect that he did this for me first and to his son later. However, by the time he could do this for his son, the auspicious moment seemed to have passed, and thus his son did not shine as well in his studies as I did. I do not know how he imagined that I was good at my studies. I am fully aware that my academic achievements were such that they did not do any credit to the Pandit for choosing a better time for me in preference to his own son. It is possible that in comparison, my contemporary was simply a poorer student. The ritual begins by the teacher holding your hand and making your right index finger the instrument to write the name of God in seeds of grain like paddy spread before you on the floor as the writing pad. I was helped to write Om Namo Narayana followed by the Tamil alphabets. Life in Vembanoor was not very exciting, especially for a child. The village could not boast of a very big population. There were only three houses, and we lived within the Brahmin community. About 200 yards away was a hamlet that was also part of Vembanoor village, where communities other than Brahmins lived. I was a protected child, and there were a lot of restrictions imposed on my movements by my mother. I think that her having lost many of her children in their infancy must have made her do this. I recall a heavy wooden log bound to my legs, which in turn was chained to a nearby pillar, and this made it impossible to leave the house even if I wanted to. Occasionally, I used to go the mango groves near our house and collect fruits that had fallen to the ground, either because they were fully ripened or birds had dislodged them. I relished those mangoes. The three houses were owned by my father and two of his cousins. There was no school in the village and there was no electricity. When the dusk settled, every household used to light up their kerosene oil lamps. Insects and mosquitoes were the constant companions of the people. There was only one house that had a clock. If anyone wanted to know the time, either they peeped into the house where there was the clock or they tried to estimate the time based on the length of your shadow formed by the sun. Many times the estimate of the time was arrived at used to be near perfect. There was another way by which villagers used to tell the time. A regular bus route ran about 200 yards north from our house. Buses were very few and far between. Yet a service named TVS used to run along the route with perfect timing. Villagers used to estimate the time. It became a habit of people to even record the time of the birth of their children on the basis of the time of the arrival of the bus in their village. TVS was the initials of an industrialist from South India, Kurugudi Vengaram Sundaram Iyengar. From an almost insignificant beginning, he had built a business empire that became to be popularly known as TVS Group. I learned to ride a bicycle in Vembanoor village. My father had one, and I used to do monkey pedaling, a method of pedaling without sitting on the seat but by having the feet on the pedals through the triangular gap in the frame below the saddle. I could do it because there was a small slope at the culvert near our house and it was easy to get the cycle moving downhill. This involved less pedaling and more balancing. Elementary education in my life was neither planned nor readily available. There used to be a class of about 10 or 12 students drawn from houses where there were children of school going age. In the morning, the teacher used to come to each house and call out the name of the child to accompany him to school. The school, which was in an adjacent village called Manjakudi, was held either under some shady tree or outside a thatched house. There was no blackboard for the teacher to write on, and the students didn't have books to read or notebooks to write in. Instead, a small quantity of sand spread in front of the child was used as the writing pad, and his index finger was the instrument with which to write. Teaching was essentially oral. The teacher made the children repeat things after him and get them to learn by heart. Arithmetic was one subject taught orally by making the children repeat simple multiplications and divisions. The classes never observed any regular hours or schedules. Children came if the parents were pleased to send them with the teacher. And at the end of the day, it was the duty of the teacher to accompany each child back to his house. The way the teacher got compensated for his labor was to get some measure of paddy at the end of each harvesting season. Paddy is rice with its husk covering. Another memory of the village includes the annual festival of the deity called Mahamai. During this festival, the deity from the temple, situated about 3 miles away from our village, was brought in a procession. There used to be a lot of fun and frolic associated with this event. By the time the deity reached the village, it was around 9 p.m. People used to stay awake to welcome the procession and offer various things to those who brought the deity. The offerings included food, which we all eagerly partook. Similarly, on the 18th day of the Tamil month called Adi, corresponding to July 16 to August 16, the river near our house used to be in full flow. People went to the river bank with a variety of food, performed puja, paid homage to the river, and then took part in the eating spree. The river was the main source of irrigation, and hence it was treated with reverence and respect shown to it. The river is known as Kudamuruti, a branch of the main river Kaveri. I must admit that I had no great attraction for education, and perhaps I even had some aversion to it. My elder sister did not get any education. If at all she went to school, it was more to escort and take care of me and not for her own benefit. Even though I never went to any regular classes, I was able to get into the fifth grade, fifth class. It was in an elementary school in Ohio. Ohio is one side of the river, and on the other side, the town took the name of Kudavasal. The school is known as Board High School, Kudavasal, even though it is in Ohio. Attending the class was a nightmare for me because sitting in a fifth grade class without any previous proper education was a great handicap from which I suffered for the rest of my life. It created a complex in me as I was not measuring up to other students in the class and was often an object of ridicule. Many times I used to go out of the class to escape the torture at the hands of a teacher who was known not to tolerate pupils of lesser intelligence. He punished the younger students by using a foot rule or a thick pencil to hit the closed fists of children in the class who were not meeting his expectations. My elder sister used to be in another class, and under the pretext of either borrowing a pencil from her or for getting my pencil sharpened, I used to go to her many times during the day to escape the tyranny of my teacher. I took my own time to come back to my class. In spite of my dismal academic record, I was straight away taken into the sixth grade class. Perhaps I was about 9 years of age at the board high school, BHS Kodavasal. Although it was called BHS Kodavasal, it was situated on the Ohio side of town. The Kodamuruti River separated the twin settlements, and on the other side of the river was the actual Kodavasal. It was not until 1942 that I attended a school regularly, and at the end of that academic year, I got promoted to 7th class. The school was a co-ed, and the medium of education was Tamil. English was taught as a subject. All that I remember about the 3 years I spent at that school was that I used to walk there from my village, carrying my bag, a tiffin box which contained my afternoon lunch, and an ink bottle and a steel nipped instrument for dipping into the ink to write with. I do not remember wearing chappals on my feet or using an umbrella for protection from rain or heat. I was afraid of walking the distance to the school as there used to be some butchers and other shops selling toddy, a crude form of alcoholic drink. In order not to look at the shops, I was trained by my elder sister to look straight ahead and not glance left or right while on the road. As Brahmins, we were against meat in any form, and it was considered a sin to look at the butcher's shop where meat and mutton were hanging from a rod. Similarly, drinking any form of intoxicating drink was unthinkable among Brahmins. The road was not tarred, it had muddy red sand along its length, and any vehicle that passed would raise a thick cloud of flying sand that covered the walkers. Eating the lunch on the banks of the river that ran adjacent to the school was memorable. Sweet smelling mango fruits cut into pieces used to be put in the curd rice. That was my normal lunch. There was a teacher named Mr. Alfred David at the school, and he used to teach us English. The person who took the first period of the day was known as the class teacher, and Mr. David was my class teacher. He occasionally came to school on time, and even if he did, he was not very serious about teaching us anything. Unfortunately, he was a heavy drinker. On one occasion, I remember seeing him lying on the side of a road after he got drunk and thus could not come to class that day. Another incident I vividly remember is the Victory Day, celebrated by the school at the end of World War II. Sweets were distributed and children were given small paper badges with the letter V printed on it in bold, denoting Churchill's famous V for victory sign. As part of the war effort, we were told to collect as much discarded iron as possible and hand it over to a government agency in return for some cash. Students like me used to look for horseshoes that would be lying on the road, collect them, and hand them over to our school. I also remember another heartbreaking incident of my school life when I was in one of the classes, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. I can't recall which, and my school fees was not paid for a particular month. I should think that our family was not in a position to pay, hence the default. The fee was a rupee and a quarter. The names of students who defaulted used to be read out in class, and they were orally warned that if they failed to pay the fees within a stipulated time, along with a fine, their names would be struck off the rolls of the class. When my name was read out, I started crying at the prospect of getting rusticated. The teacher tried to pacify me and asked other students in the class who had pocket money to pool it together and pay my fees for that moment, for that month. I can never forget this incident in my life. I still wonder why I started crying when I should have been happy to get the struck of the rolls and put an end to my education. We'll continue. Thank you very much for your patience.